and 3i Atlas. Houston, we have a problem. Where's all the photos? Where's the high resolution images from HiRISE? We were supposed to get those several days ago. Perfect timing for the government shutdown. Is there something more to it? We're going to talk to David about it. David Sereda. You can check out his website, davidsereda.co. Inventor, author, researcher. You're kind of I don't know if a professional photographer, but you've been into photography for a long time as well, haven't you?
No, I was a professional photographer.
Okay. So add that to the resume.
And award-winning photographer as well. So
touche. There we go. So perfect that we can talk to you about these images that we are being shown, and the most recent from allegedly the Mars Rover, where I don't know how much we can take this image for what it is, but we're going to talk to you about that. So folks, really appreciate you being here with us. David has been a regular guest on Leak Project now for several years, but he's far from regular, needs no introduction. And today's presentation, I did want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, which is Noble Gold Investments. So I wanted to let you know about an incredible opportunity right now, ladies and gentlemen. Take advantage of this opportunity. If you have a 401 or an IRA and you convert it into precious metals through Noble Gold Investments, they will gift you 11 ounces of solid silver, a 10-ounce silver flag, and a 1-ounce round 12. So gold has gone mainstream. You're seeing it everywhere. Prices keep climbing. Every day, more and more Americans are catching on to the power of gold. But how do you actually take advantage of the opportunity? How do you invest in a way that's safe, simple, and built for the long run? That's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. Noble Gold specialists are trained to help investors like you go from confused to confident, from wondering what's next to knowing exactly what to do. Whether you're looking to roll over an old 401k into a gold IRA, or you want physical coins and bars mailed directly to your house, Noble Gold makes the process simple, safe, and stress-free. You'll get step-by-step guidance, transparent pricing, and US-based service from a team that's handled over $2.5 billion, billion dollars in precious metal transactions. Noble Gold Investments protecting and growing your wealth isn't just their job, it is their commitment. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com today to claim your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Their phone number is 1-877-646-5347. Let them know Rex from Leak Project sent you so you can get those 11 ounces of silver when you convert your 401. And let's jump into it. All right, here we go. David Sereda. Man, this is wild. This is so wild. 33 billion tons is how big this thing is. Now.
It's funny you got the black ball behind you there, because what I'm going to show you in the Mars Perseverance camera. So let's start out. The big day of the alignment on Mars, which was Yom Kippur. In fact, which was the 1st and 2nd of October, which is when 3i Atlas arrives at Mars. And we're told that the best camera in the solar system, which is the Mars HiRISE camera, it has the most megapixels of any camera on Earth, was going to give us these super high resolution images of 3i Atlas. And what happens is right then, when it's supposed to show up, and in our last presentation, I documented all the religious dates on the crossing of 3i Atlas to each and every planet, including dwarf planet Ceres, and actually even Psyche 16, which are all religious dates. So let me go there before I go to the big crunch, because my newest discovery, before we get to the very exciting images on Mars, which reveal something that might resemble the Death Star in Star Wars, literally, and the big black ball you have behind you there, Rex.
Are you talking about Iapetus?
It is so clear what they're covering up, because 2 images leaked in the last couple of days, because they're in an automated system, even though we have a government shutdown that was timed perfectly. Whether that's by coincidence or intention, of course, we can't know because we're not on the inside. But it looks like it was intentional, because by shutting it down, in fact, Avi Loeb, the Harvard physicist who was the one who came up with the 3i Atlas extraterrestrial hypothesis. And his hypothesis is very good. In fact, let me get my image, my screen up showing you where Atlas is right now.
He's been at the forefront with the potential ET hypothesis for quite a while, since Oumuamua. I mean, he's been very into the research. I appreciate that about him.
Yeah, he's been very into it, and Loeb's new. Okay, so he's come out with a lot in the last week. So let's go to his page, because I want to bring up. Well, we'll just go to my page, because my page, my Medium. I have a Medium page. It's medium.com/@David Sereda.
Okay.
And okay, because there's a big thing happening here, and we want to go to. Let me go to share screen, and window. There we go. Okay. So let's see if we see my screen. You see my screen yet? There we go. So there's my Medium page. And if I just click on, see, these are all my articles.
Okay.
So Avi Loeb has stated that the WOW signal, which was August 15th, 1977, is the same position to a degree of accuracy that's very high of the origin of where 3i Atlas came from. And nobody noticed, just like 3i Atlas, and it's what I demonstrated last time on your show. And if people haven't seen that, they have to back see it. I'll give a quick, brief tour of the religious state crossings of 3i Atlas to the planets. But that was a religious state. In fact, for all of the Catholics and even Orthodox Christians in the world, it's the August 15th, 1977 is Mother Mary's Day of Ascension, which is celebrated every year as the ascension of the Mother Mary, the Mother of Christ, August 15th, which is not on a lunar calendar system. It's on a solar calendar system. So that means it's the same every single year. And again, we're at the point now where the odds are so far against chance that all of these dates to 3i Atlas will line up to our religious dates that only matter to the arrival and the ascension of master teachers, the heads of the major religions of the earth. I'm not taking sides on religions. I'm just presenting the data. My friend Boyd Bushman at Lockheed Martin, I love his acronym, follow the data, theory be damned. This is not about what you believe. It's just the facts, right? So Avi Loeb gave strong evidence of the origin of the WOW signal August 15th, 1977 in the same direction as where 3i Atlas was at that time. His article is here. And quoting him, hence the WOW signal was separated by approximately 4 degrees in right ascension and 8 degrees in declination from the direction of 3i Atlas. The chances of the two random directions in the sky being aligned to that level is about 0.6%. And these are calculated mathematical odds, right? So I have a whole article on it here, and I'm not going to go into all the details of my article, but I want people to know this, that the chances, again, like the more odds you have against and for an event, clarify whether what you're dealing with is not chance and is actually by design. And that's how odds work. You have coordination and you have chaos, randomness. And, really quickly, I can go just really quickly through this on my Medium page again. Let me just go back to my home page and Medium, share screen. I want people to see a quick recap, because what we're going to see today and where we are is so staggering, And my research at this point is getting super advanced on this. In fact, so proof of intelligence. It's this article here on my Medium page, which you have to read to really get the real details. And again, what we did here is I went on the Sky Live and I backtracked 3i Atlas using the clock here. You can change the date and see where it was. And it crossed the orbit of Neptune coming in. It was the 14th of June in 2023, but it crossed on the 13th and 14th of June is the Ascension Day of Jesus in the Orthodox Church, which is the Eastern Church, the entire Eastern Bloc Church, and that includes Egypt, Russia, all the Eastern Orthodox churches, Greece, the Greeks, which celebrate Christmas on January 7th and 8th, and the Easter dates on the Orthodox Church precede Ascension. Ascension is when most of Jesus's disciples saw him ascend into the sky in his new resurrected body. And it's usually 40 days after Easter, sometimes 39 days, but it is always 39 degrees of Earth transit around its orbit around the sun. So these are very important numbers. So again, it's 1 year off. And again, so on a lunar calendar and a solar calendar, the real date of Easter and Ascension cannot happen every year on a lunar calendar, because the lunar calendar date has to match a star calendar date, which is the most accurate to find the true date that it happened. So a lunar calendar chases the phases of the moon, and the phases of the moon will only every so many years realign to the perfection of the solar or star calendar date. So that's a huge subject in itself. So really quickly going through these, it then crosses coming in the orbit of Uranus on the 6th of May, and Jesus' Ascension Day again falls on May 6th in 1948 and 2027, right, which is 2 years from now. The Buddha's birthday was May 6th in 2014 and May 1st in 2025. So the Buddha's dates of enlightenment and the Buddha's birthday coincide with the Ascension Day of Jesus in many years. Again, it's on the
David?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to ask, where did you get the dates on the birthdays of Jesus and the Buddha?
I'm talking about, I'm talking about the Ascension date of Jesus, not his birth date, because we're going to come to his birthday when it's normally celebrated. So Ascension is 40 days after Easter, and Easter is on a lunar calendar every year, right?
Copy that. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so now 3i Atlas is crossing Jupiter's orbit on the 13th of June, which is Jesus' Ascension Day again in the Orthodox Church, and Buddha's Day of Enlightenment is June 13th in 2014, right? So again, the reasons for the timing changes on lunar calendars is because the lunar calendar produces a window of time that sometimes coincides with the solar star calendar and most of the time doesn't. And that's because the actual date on lunar calendars are not correct every single year to a star calendar, which is the most accurate. That means the day of Jesus's birth, the day of his ascension, the day of Easter, the position of a star on a star calendar, which is the most accurate, will always be the same every year. On a lunar calendar, it's swinging back and forth like this, like a sine wave. So in some years, it will come very close to that star calendar position. In some years, it'll be way off. And so I'm just marking these. So it's here it is coming in the orbit of Saturn on Muhammad's night vision, which is marked every year again on a lunar calendar, but this time it's accurate to the year because we are 2025, last January 27th, 3i Atlas crossed the orbit of Saturn on that date. This is a very special date for Muslims. These crossings have 10 to 12 days to be in harmony to that orbit. And again, some years they'll go way out. Now, we come to 3i Atlas, and this is new because we didn't show this last time. Asteroid 16 Psyche is the most valuable asset in the solar system. It has countless trillions of dollars worth of precious metals, and it's actually orbiting the asteroid belt, but it crosses that orbit on last year, this year, 2025, on the 14th and 15th of August again, which is Mother Mary's Day of Ascension. So remember, the signal, the wow signal, happened on the 15th of August in 1977. The thing about the Ascension Day of Mary is it's on the solar calendar. So it's the same date every single year, just like Christmas is. Okay, so marking that is phenomenal. And then it comes in its closest position to Mars, October 2nd through 3rd, which is Yom Kippur. And this just happened. You know, we're October 7th today. So this is the position where we were supposed to get the best pictures in the solar system using the Mars HiRISE camera, and instead 2 images leaked out of the Mars Perseverance rover, which is a very basically amateur quality camera. It's not a professional quality camera. I don't know why they'd put a camera like that in space when we have small cameras that can do a way better job than that camera, but we did. Probably because the people working at NASA are not thinking in terms of professional photography. They need to hire people like me who actually know cameras. So again, this is when the government shutdown occurs, right? October 1st and 2nd are Yom Kippur. The 3rd is one day off of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the day that Moses receives the second set of tablets, commandments from God in the Bible. And obviously God in the Bible had landed physically on the earth for a duration of time for this event to happen. So every day on the Hebrew calendar, which is a lunar calendar. So remember, notice the date is correct to the year, because next year Yom Kippur will be on a different date, and then a different date, which will swing to and from. So we're accurate to the year. I mean, this is showing absolute intelligence of 3i Atlas. I don't know why astronomers can't see this, and that's because they're prejudiced against archaeo and religious astronomy, because these holy days are, in fact, what 3i Atlas is proving to us is that these religious dates are harmonies to the order of the solar system, and there's an aspect to these religious dates that we've completely missed. They're not by chance. So this is important because during these last couple of days, a different camera on Mars, because of the government shutdown, it sends the images to a database automatically. There's no person involved. So by firing or temporarily laying off personnel, those images that leaked through didn't get scrubbed and deleted before we could see them. And they reveal a lot. So we keep going. And this alignment on the 1st of October between 3i Atlas Mars and actually K1 Atlas is right in here. Actually, I should go. I'll backtrack to that image because it's way more complicated now, because we have way more visitors in the solar system right now. It's not just 3i Atlas. We've got K1 Atlas, we've got Lemon, and we've got 2 Swan comets, and we have a near-Earth object, which is the size of a Manhattan skyscraper, riding right next to Earth. Right now, it's still with us. It's starting to, it's coming out about here where my cursor is now, but it's been with us. So
is that the mini moon?
No, it's not the mini moon. No, that's another one. And that's another one. We found a new mini moon. So they're telling us. And this is the side angle on the 13th of October, which is the anniversary of the Fatima miracle of the sun, which is a date coming up in less than a week, 6 days from now. And that's when 3i Atlas just comes inside the orbit of Mars. It's crossed the orbit of Mars and it's coming inside. And again, that corresponds to my whole hyperdimensional model. The bullseye of 3i Atlas is a hyperdimensional invisible planet with an orbit of 591 days. And I've talked about this before. That's its actual bullseye. This is a number given to me by my wife after she died. She calls out my name at 591 days after she died. 591 days divided by the golden ratio is the exact orbit of Earth. And if I repeat that fractal math, I build a complete model of the solar system that includes the 9 more planets of the angels, which were witnessed by the poet Dante in the 14th century. So this is a recap, which is why I'm going through this really fast. And then here we go. This is the perihelion, which is the closest Atlas, 3i Atlas will get to the sun, which will occur on the 29th to the 30th of October. They're now moving it closer to the 30th. And both of those dates are Muhammad's birthday on the lunar calendar, 2022 and 2020. Again, I'm not picking the religions. You know, what Boyd Bushman says, follow the data, theory be damned. So this is the fact. It will be at perihelion on dates that will match Muhammad's birthday in 2022 and 2020, which are 2 dates that are just behind us, which means we're really, really close. Then December 20th, 2025 is its closest position to Earth. Closest position to Earth. And what happens on Christmas, you can see on Loeb's chart here, is during early December all the way to the 25th, it maintains pretty much a flat line in its closest approximation to Earth. And suddenly on the 26th, the day after Christmas, it can no longer hold the flat line and it drifts away very radically. I mean, this is perfectly timed. I mean, I don't know why these religious dates don't matter to scientists, because if we're looking at something that is intelligent, that is communicating that it's recognizing all of our religious dates, it means, hello, I'm intelligent. I understand you, but I understand way more than you understand. Why can't you see this? Because scientists are, maybe they can't be motivated or they can't even recognize that this is a supreme form of intelligence. Now, on Christmas Day, and I was tipped off by another researcher who said that on Christmas Day, it'll be at 38 or 39 degrees from Earth, who's in a 90-degree quadrant of angle. The complementary angle is that Atlas and Earth will be aligned at Great Pyramid angle. This is the angle of the Great Pyramid, 51.853972 degrees. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This is actually going to happen on Christmas Day. So whether people understand the connection between Christmas and the Great Pyramid, well, you've got a lot to learn from me, because I can prove that the Great Pyramid is not Egyptian, that the measurements inside of the Queen's Chamber are the same as Moses's holy place, which housed as a tent the Ark of the Covenant, and the staffs of the 12 tribes were in that tent. And beyond that tent was a rectangular tent when the Israelites were nomadic, which is called the holy place. And that measurement was 10 by 20 cubits, which is the same measurement as the king's chamber. So the God of Moses, again, has aligned to Mars with 3i Atlas, and the measurements which the God of the Old Testament measures everything. Every temple has to be perfectly measured according to measurements in cubits. So we have a connection to the Great Pyramid on Christmas, and this can't be overlooked. It's enormously important. And then when we go to, I mean, my article, I get very, very precise here. We go to when Atlas, again, after Christmas, will cross within the orbit of 16 Psyche again on the Orthodox Christmas, which is January 7 and 8. Okay, so again, it's not an empty space. It's crossing a very particular position. And on this date, there'll be a triangulation of 16 Psyche, 3i Atlas, and Earth. And then again, it crosses Jupiter. Now, it's not crossing Jupiter's orbit. This is its closest distance to Jupiter. And this will be accurate to the year on the lunar calendar. The night of power in Islam marks when the angel Gabriel appeared to Muhammad on the earth and started orating the first verses of the Quran on earth. So that date is accurate to the year, and that is the date when the Juno spacecraft on Jupiter is being redirected to again take high-res photographs of 3I Atlas as it crosses. The problem is we may never see these photos because the really high-res ones are too revealing. Now, if they had nothing to hide, they would show us the photographs. And here we cross the orbit of Jupiter, which is not its closest position to Jupiter, on the Easter window. Again, we're at Easter dates. We have Easter for 1894, 1951, 2046, and Easter will fall on March 26 in 1989 and 2076. So that's why you see March 25th and the 26th 1 day apart. They're both Easter dates. So you're in the Easter window. And here, crossing the orbit of Saturn on the 19th, 22nd of July is, on a star calendar, what is known as Sirius heliacal rising, which in ancient Egypt was their New Year's Day, the 19th to 20th of July, because that's when Sirius pairs with the sun at sunrise at the Giza Plateau, and therefore we have a perfect representation of a perfect calendar, which we now use today. We use a solar calendar and a star calendar to mark the perfection of a year. And when you get into the perfection of a year is a huge subject. It also happens to be the date of Apollo. The lunar landing was 19th and 20th of July, 1969. And then you also have the 22nd is the feast day of Mary Magdalene, who was proven not to be the former prostitute reformed by the Catholic Church in 1968. The Pope reversed their decision. She is not the former prostitute. A lot of people don't know that the Catholic Church actually reversed the decision on that. And then here it crosses the orbit of Uranus on the way out, May 24th, which is the Buddha's birthday in 2026. Jesus' Ascension Day was May 26 in 2022. So there you go. These are, and it crosses Neptune's orbit. Easter will be on April 12th in the year 2020. And for the Gregorian calendar in 2026, it will be Easter on the Orthodox calendar. So again, it's done this for every planet, every single one. So now when you come to the idea that let's come back to where we are right now, because where we are right now is the big question, and the images, because there's this huge moment that we're coming to right now. I just got to find this on my screen here, where I have.
What does it mean?
Well, it means that the intelligence it would take to adjust the angle, which again, the angle of 3I Atlas to come in at 5 degrees to the ecliptic is such a low angle that there's no way, and Loeb has a whole paper on this, that comets do this. They don't behave like this. And so, I mean, in the very beginning for him, it's simply proof that we're dealing with in extraterrestrial intelligence. Here's what I'm looking for right now. So here we go. So let's go to where this really is. Okay, so hang on. I just have to find you again. I've lost you in my screen here. Here we are. There you are. So okay, let's go to this. This is what it looks like out there now. So this is what it looks like out there right now. So let's come to this screen. because this is the view. Okay. So this is the current date. So let's go back to Yom Kippur begins October 1st, 2nd. You can see where 3i Atlas is here. We have K1 Atlas aligned to Mercury and Mars, and you see that? And the planet Mercury, Mars, 3i Atlas, and K1 Atlas and the Sun are all aligned. That just happened. That's the day of the government shutdown. Yom Kippur begins on the evening of that date, October 2nd. The alignment goes out. The 3rd of October is when it's closest. See, that alignment can only exist precisely on the 1st and 2nd, sometime between the 1st and the 2nd. Because all of this, of course, is moving by the 2nd. And my clock in the sky live only works by the day. So we have all these other visitors because what we have is comet R2 Swan here. If you go back to the 11th of September, September 11th, right here, F2 Swan suddenly appeared and eluded all the astronomers. Notice September the 11th, which happens to be my youngest daughter's birthday, but it's also September 11th, a date we all know in infamy. So we don't know how Comet Swan was not detected, F2 Swan, way in advance so that we could see it coming, right? And if I check in all my angles here, we can see in three-dimensionally where it is. Well, we suddenly started seeing it. But we also have R2 Swan here. Now, you're going to see what's going to happen. And we have Lemon, which is now being photographed. And we're told all of these are comets, except 3i Atlas is in question on whether it's technological, because it's not behaving like a comet, and it's not made of materials that comets are made out of. According to Loeb, it is made out of manufactured nickel, mostly.
Real quick, David, also, somebody just mentioned in the chat that the European Space Agency has just released video footage. Should we pull that? Let's pull that up and look at it right now, shall we?
Okay, hang on just a second before we do that.
Okay.
Because folks, I want to show you what's about
the press.
When we go to October the 20th, which is coming right up, this is the window of when the bullseye of 3i Atlas begins, which is hyperdimensional planet 591. I'll go back to my hyperdimensional model of the real solar system a bit later. But we see right here, R2 Swan is right next to Earth. You see how close this thing is? And on all my axes, it's so close to Earth. In fact, R2 Swan is 0.4 astronomical units from Earth, which is incredibly close. 3i Atlas became what on October the 3rd was 0.195 astronomical units from Mars, a fact which is incredible because that's Richard Hoagland's master number. Because if I go to here to October the 1st, 2nd, it was the opposite of my 591 planet. 19.5, 0195 is 591 in reverse. So they're sending us a message about the 591 in reverse being hyperdimensional. Because 195, 591 are mere opposites of each other. So this is how it communicates. This is how it communicates. So let me stop sharing. And you're going to show us this footage.
Yeah. Hot off the press. Let's pull this up right now. And the comments are pretty awesome. You should read through some of these comments. I'm putting some of them up on screen, but people are fascinated with this presentation, David. You always bring your A game, man. Much appreciated. It's wild how, some people are leaving comments. I've read a couple comments, a little bit skeptical about, well, couldn't this potentially be coincidence based on the dates and such? I think you're showing a very compelling.
No, because let's say, to answer that, let's say if I only had one or two religious dates, you got to write it off as chance, but not for every single planet. And now the wow signal. So the more dates you have lining up, the chances of that being random chance are not looking good.
You're bringing up some great points. Absolutely. So this is the European Space Agency's latest video footage. Look at this. We got 33 likes. Oh, I love it. I love it. But this just came out. You can see today, and 13,000 views thus far, 33 likes. And here is the footage. So let's take a look at this right here.
Send me a link to that in my email right now, because I can see structure in some of those images beyond the surface area. Oh yeah, it's doing. Oh my God, there's all kinds of stuff going on in there. Whoa,
that's kind of weird. Looks like
there's multiple whites. There's multiple whites in the core. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's 4, 3, 5. Oh, look at that. Oh,
that is weird.
No, send me a link to that. I'll do a screen grab. Let me check in my email. Send it to my email right now, the link to where you're seeing that.
Copy that. Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. You are seeing this here. One of the first people to see this. All right.
Live, yeah, send it to me. I'll put it in Photoshop, and I'll show live screen grabs, and you just have to light adjust to see what we're looking at.
All right, cool. Yeah, that is weird.
This thing is so super massive, and I'm going to show you where this goes next.
Okay.
Okay, waiting. I'm in my email looking for your.
I just sent it.
Okay, so let me go to my email.
That is some very strange.
Oh no, there's multiple points. Okay, here it is. 3I Atlas ESA. Okay, here it is, Rex. Oh my God.
So listen to this. The CASSIS could not distinguish the nucleus from the coma because 3I Atlas was too far away. Imaging this kilometer-wide nucleus would have been as impossible as seeing a mobile phone on the moon from Earth. But the coma, measuring a few thousand kilometers across, is clearly visible. The coma is created as 3I Atlas approaches the sun. The sun's heat and radiation is bringing the comet to life, causing it to release gas and dust, which collects as this halo surrounding the nucleus. The full size of the coma could not be measured by the CASSIS because the brightness of the dust decreases quickly with distance from the nucleus. This means that the coma fades into the noise in the image. Typically, material from the coma is swept into a long tail, which can grow up to millions of kilometers long. As this comet moves closer to the sun, the tail is much dimmer than the coma. We can't see the tail in the images from CASSIS, but it may become more visible in future observations as the comet continues to heat up and release more ice. Nick Thomas, principal investigator of the CASSIS camera, explains this was a very challenging observation for the instrument. The comet is around 10,000 to 100,000 times fainter than our usual target.
Oh no, there's real structure here. Okay, I'm going to show you on my Photoshop screen. This is a screen grab. Okay, from the video frames. And again, let me go here and let me go to share screen, window. Okay, where is my, here's Photoshop. Okay, there we go. Okay, you see right here.
I don't see it. Let's see if I can add it to the, go ahead and add that. I have to remove this first.
Oh.
And then add this. Boom, we're in. Okay.
Okay, you're in my Photoshop. Okay.
Yep.
There's a lot of structure here, and it almost looks like a space station. Okay, so let me just, now I'm going to zoom in, and then scroll down. You see that? That's, oh my God.
That is weird.
No, there's real structure there. So let me start image adjust, my brightness contrast, increase contrast, drop my brightness down. Oh my God. Look, Rex. Oh. Look at this. Does that look like a comet to you?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't look like a comet. If I'm being skeptical, let me just play the skeptic here for a minute. I would say it might be because of just the image quality. There could be a plume, but the camera picks it up as a pixel because that's all it's able to do. So instead of it looking like a smoke plume, it's pixelized. But that's just me being
Okay, so look,
I don't know.
You see all this fog around it?
Yeah.
And then you've got these structured lines, which are, again, the way a camera works, are the brightest points in the geometry. You have to go back to Loeb's early papers. In fact, let me open another screen grab because it could be, I don't even know for sure if we're looking at 3i Atlas. Because remember, Loeb's early hypothesis was that it's going to drop out probes to Mars, Venus, Earth, and Jupiter. Mars, Venus, and I have to go back to that to show you. No, cameras don't lie. This is a very good camera that they're using here. There's no way you're not at pixels yet. You're nowhere near pixels yet. You're not that far zoomed in. So let's get another one of it from the screen grabs. And this one here. This one interests me here. So view, fit on screen. Okay, it's the same type of structure here. I think my first one was better. Let me just zoom in on this guy here. You see all this fog around it? There's structure in there. There's real structure. We have an oval. Let me go to image adjustments, brightness, contrast. I'm just going to bring the brightness down. You see that? That's not, we're not at pixels at all. Increase my contrast a bit, bring my brightness down. So you go from this one and you go, so okay, I hit okay. And then I go to this one, to this one. Okay, now this is the image that leaked yesterday. But this camera, I really know. There's structure in here. You can see all this incredible structure. This image leaked yesterday. And this is what the raw image looks like. It looks like a sphere with all these structured bands. There's all kinds of structured data in here. And when I use my size comparisons on what's called arc seconds of view, based on this is from this image is from the Perseverance rover cam, whose focal length is basically the human eye. And if I zoom this guy out, image, view, fit on screen, this is the whole image. And the stars are moving in the background because it's a timed exposure, but the camera's locked in on 3i Atlas, which is right here, supposedly 3i Atlas. And I can see these pixels all lit up in this curved kind of surface area here, whose diameter from here to here, based on it being 0.195 astronomical units from the camera, and this is the full frame, this would be bigger than Jupiter. Way bigger than Jupiter. Because full frame at the optics of that camera, whose maximum focal length is 100 millimeters, 100 millimeters only doubles the human visible spectrum, which is not drastic at all. Using my scale, and I'm going to show you this. So let's stop share. We're going to come back to your images later. I'm going to go back to my Medium article because I have a Medium article on this subject. You have to know how these cameras work.
And if you're just joining us, folks, this is the most recent footage from the European Space Agency of allegedly 3i Atlas. And it has very, very bizarre characteristics, especially.
No, there's no way that's a comet, Rex. I mean, we just zoomed in on that. That's got real structure. And that's why I'm saying we're in for a Star Wars level event. So now I'm going to show you the size. So let me go to share screen. And I'm going to go to my Medium page. And we're going to go to this. And I'm going to add those images that I just pulled from the ESA spacecraft. No, we're in trouble, people. This planet will not be the same by the time we get to Christmas, because this image right here, okay, it's from the Mars Perseverance camera, and it's full frame. Of course, it's not cropped. And this streak was alleged by Avi Loeb to be caused by improper image stacking. And image stacking is done by computer software at NASA. And no, it doesn't stack the image side by side and form a streak. It stacks it properly, which means, according to the optics, and Loeb noted this streak would be 30,000 miles long, and its diameter would be, all I did is a simple ratio calculation, you see, 30,000 miles. This is one of two images that came through the Mars. You see this line here you're seeing?
Yeah.
Okay, remember what we just saw from the ESA is a bunch of these lines that cross each other. But there's hidden structure here that you're not seeing. Look at this. This is what the end looks like, purified by Richard Hoagland. It looks like a pentagonal protrusions around a pentagonal central core, and this is just the end of it. Okay, this is incredible, and you can calculate the diameter of this structure. If the length is 30,000 miles long, the diameter of the structure is over 6,500 miles in diameter, right? And what I do here is I do a focal measurement, and I developed a system. Okay, you're gonna of arc seconds to size base. Okay, here's my scale. At 0.195, an astronomical unit is the Earth to the Sun distance, right? Which is an enormous distance. So it's 0.195 of that, which is about just under 19.5. Notice it's 19.5, which is 591 in reverse. We're going to get into this. So if the arc seconds of visible is 30, it's 4,500 kilometers, 2,600 miles. If it's 40 arc seconds, now 40 arc seconds, if you look at Jupiter to the naked eye, it's about 47 arc seconds. So you see how small Jupiter is to the eye at nighttime. If you have the ability to go outside and look at Jupiter these days, after somewhere around before sunrise, Jupiter's up, and Comet Lemon is to the left of Jupiter right now, right? If it's even smaller than Jupiter to the naked eye, it'd be 3,500 miles across. But the problem, Rex, is to this camera up here, this is way bigger than Jupiter, way bigger than Jupiter to that camera's optics. And in fact, if its maximum focal length is used at 100 millimeters on that camera, it's still way too big, way, way too big. There's no way we can accept the size of this thing. And that's why Loeb came up with this crazy hypothesis that it was stacked manually somehow side by side to produce the elongated image, right? So now let's go back for a second before let me go to the end of this article. There's a point I made here in the end. Okay, so if you're looking at the star Vega, which you can see right now at nighttime, it's right above my house at about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Vega appears at 0.13 arc seconds, but it's very bright, even though it's tiny in arc seconds. Like if you hold your thumb up to the sky, 0.13 arc seconds is the head of a pin, right? So that means when we come to this image, the diameter of this would suggest an object bigger than Jupiter. And that cannot be happening, Rex. So there's only one logical hypothesis. 3i Atlas has dropped out probes, and they're in the line of sight. So here's 3i Atlas. Here's the camera on Mars, and the probe is heading right towards Mars, which is obscuring where 3i Atlas is, because this was Loeb's original hypothesis. First, he says it's intelligent, it's going to drop off probes. That was his first paper. Now it's dropping off probes, and he's like, it can't be happening. It must be an optical illusion, because the arc second's view in the photograph shows something 30,000 kilometers. I mean, 30,000 miles. Like, that's like 4 Earths in diameter. Do you realize that, how huge that is?
Mm-hmm.
And accept it. So he's got to come up with something, because, and the cameras don't lie. So if you go back to my Photoshop of what we just grabbed from the ESA Live, let's go back. Let's go back, people. I mean, we are dealing with a Star Wars level event, because this image here is structure. This is structure. These are all 90-degree angles. The camera is not lying. I mean, I guarantee you, our governments worldwide know this. And this new imagery that's coming in this morning from the European Space Agency confirms the panic, because that's not a comet. And
Zoom in on that, would you?
Yeah, let's zoom in on it. Let's. When I zoom in too far, Photoshop is going to add this grid, right?
That's good right there. If you can, yeah, that's fine.
Let's keep going. You see all this fog out here? That is not fog. These are the protrusions of the structure of 3i Atlas that are picking up the most light. But you see this little hole here? This is not fog. It has to do with the optics and the sensitivity of the what's called the grayscale range of this camera. So if I go even further, right, all of this around it is probably spherical, but these protruding angles at 90 degrees, because each of these squares now is a pixel. Now we're at pixels. Okay. We've got, no matter how far I zoom out, that structure is holding. So
and if you
got a problem.
Sorry, David. There's some people in the chat that are skeptical, and rightfully so. I am as well. I'm looking at this data, and I'm kind of blown away right now. But I'm also saying, what if the camera itself that's filming this object doesn't have the technology to pick up the details, so it's making it look like there's these.
No, okay. I've got thousands of hours in the darkroom.
Okay.
Experience.
Okay.
I won awards in 2 schools when I was young. This is back in the days when we did film.
Okay.
And film grains are actually superior to pixels, because pixels are flat. A film grain is a crystal which collects light at various angles to the film plate.
Okay.
So what's happening is, I mean, this isn't a crappy camera. In fact, I need to look later at the specifics, the specs on this camera. So all that stuff that looks like fog around it, this is the most light at the, again, that's why you have to adjust the contrast. The most light is hitting the highlights of the structure and giving us these 90-degree angles. So what we saw from the Perseverance cam, the long tube, is probably light hitting only one protrusion of those long lines you're seeing. I don't know the focal length right now of this camera and where this camera is stationed. All of that has to be researched to determine the size. If this even is 3i Atlas, it could be one of the probes heading towards Mars. It could be. I've got more screen grabs to get, but no, if I had, okay, let's look at this. If I had optics looking at an actual comet with a tail, and remember, 3i Atlas's tail is in the opposite direction that it's moving. It's heading, the tail is protruding towards the sun when most comets go the opposite way, right? So the size estimates from all the best astronomers on Earth have been that the core of Atlas, the core, is as big as 29 miles, and it is small is about 3.5 miles in diameter. No, why is there such a huge range in size? And that's because of the distance it is to the optics. And looking at pixels, I mean, I'm talking about arc seconds and arc minutes, which is how we measure. Like, so if you're looking out in space, there's 360 degrees in a circle of observations, right? So in those arcs, we divide it down to hours, minutes, and seconds. That's how we divide that circle. And so when you're looking at an arc second and a star that's visible in less than an arc second, at the distance those stars are, the optics of any camera will not produce angles like that. No, I can take pictures of Sirius, the star Sirius rising in the morning with my Nikon, and it won't produce angles like that in the light. So it won't produce an aberration. Angles like that can only be produced by structure. And that structure was duly noted in the physics papers in the beginning when we were looking at the Hubble images of 3i Atlas. That structure was duly noted. And in fact, I can go back to some of those July 20th images of 3i Atlas and see that geometrical structure when it was much further away. So we're looking at much closer now, way closer. So to see that structure, no, I will not see aberrations in a camera lens unless there's really something there to produce the structure, geometry. So I know right now for the human race, this is hard to believe. But the measurements I've taken from the Perseverance cam images, and the second one is indisputably not stacked. Why is that second image I showed you so faint? Because it's not stacked. So when you stack images like these really spectacular images right now of Comet Lemon, they're taking multiple exposures, and the software stacks them and purifies the image and gives us this really bright image of the comets and its tail. So you can see spectacular. If you go to spaceweather.com, you can see spectacular images right now of Comet Lemon being taken by amateur astronomers from Earth. So this right now, all the cameras looking at 3i Atlas now, as it's been within the orbit of Mars, are relatively super close to it to begin with. So we are looking at structure that is not an aberration of the camera, the lens. We're not looking at lens flaring. And this structure was known since July 20th from the Hubble images. The structure was known. In fact, let me pull right up now. I'm going to pull up some of those early images and show you what some of the structure looks like.
And folks, once again, if you're just joining us, we have David Sereda with us. You can go to his website, davidsereda.co. Inventor, author, investigator, professional photographer. We're looking at the latest images and footage from the European Space Agency right now of 3i Atlas, allegedly, because NASA and HiRISE and JPL and all the other governing bodies that are supposed to be showing us this footage, that gets billions and billions of dollars to do this kind of stuff. Well, they're shut down right now. So this is from the European Space Agency. And now we're looking at some more images here. Let me pull this
so you have to stop sharing. I got to share.
We just look at it. Here we go.
Okay, so this was July 19th, 20th, Hubble. Now, again, to a trained eye, I can see polygonal angles. I can see ribs, right? I can see a core nucleus. Remember, 3i Atlas, according to Loeb studies and other astronomers, is emitting its own light from within. Don't forget this, people. It is not reflected light. It's emitting its own, which he attributed to possibly antimatter, which is the most powerful substance in the known universe. I know all about antimatter. I can talk for an hour about antimatter. The Earth generates due to terrestrial gamma ray flashes produced by mega lightning strikes. A tiny bit of antimatter is appearing and annihilating constantly. The rings of Saturn have the most antimatter detected so far in the solar system. Antimatter bombs and antimatter propulsion theories have already been postulated by mainstream physicists. This image shows structure. These angles are not lens flares and optics. You can see ribs in this thing. You can see a core in this thing. In fact, let me bring that into my Photoshop right now, and I'll play around with it and show you, because this is more confirmation. The problem right now is either some of what we're seeing are probes being sent to Mars by Atlas, 3i Atlas, or it's way bigger than any of our estimates could possibly imagine. Way bigger. I mean, if what we're looking at based on arc-second measurements off the camera is not a probe getting closer to the camera, and it's actually 3i Atlas, I'm sorry, the math and the optics prove it's just massive. Is it Nibiru? Well, Nibiru actually in ancient history did cross very close to Mars. And this is, of course, very close to Mars. Okay, here it is. I'm going to open this. View, fit on screen. Okay, can you see that? I'm not sure if you're seeing what I have. Okay, yeah, but we want to go in my Photoshop now. Right, so let's go stop share screen. Let's go to my Photoshop and look at this. Okay, so again, this, I know it's a little bit fuzzy, but we're not looking at a smudge ball. There's lots of structure in here. I mean, this almost looks like a mega structure. It kind of reminds me of what the visions of Ezekiel saw, these wheels within the wheels and the throne of God made of sapphire and this being sitting on the throne. Let's go to brightness contrast in here, bring my brightness down. You see, you can start to see the core light, its own light, is reflecting off these ribs, these polygonal surrounding. It's almost like a cage of geometry around it. I mean, when you move your contrast filters and your brightness, darkness around it, remember, this is July. There's lots of structure in there. Like, you see that? It's almost like the core has its own brightness, which was duly noted. And these super advanced geometries are reflecting its own light source. I mean, look at that. I can see incredible geometry in there. Look at this thing. It's a mega structure. All geometric. That's July. Now, the ESA cameras this morning shouldn't surprise you because they're way closer. Now, you should also know the Hubble cam. Hubble is only somewhere between 16 and 18 megapixels. Okay. Look at this, is video. Now, the video is produced by taking single frames and putting them in sequence in movement. This ESA cam may confirm. Did you see something streaking by there, Rex?
Yeah, I thought that was just another planet or something. Here, I'll
Oh, no. This, okay, there's nothing out there. Okay, something Remember, these are single frames, which the European space camera is. So there's something streaking by there. And again, those streaks might be a probe going by. No, it's not like dust went by. It's not like there's debris flying by. Sorry, people, you're in space. There's nothing out there. The environment is so clean. I saw another streaking object in the lower corner.
Yeah, there is something that goes
There's
by
something
it.
big that the camera catches. I'll screen grab that later and take a look at it.
Right there. Boom.
Yeah.
There it goes.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple other ones. Yeah.
The cameras are not making accidents. I mean, when your mind is open, you look at all data. You don't handpick data. You don't say, I don't believe this could be happening. I'm just going to go back to TikTok. Sorry. If you go look up at the sun right now and you go to the left, that's where it's right next to Mars. Okay. So we can do that right now too. So let's go up. Let me go to, keep looking at that until I pull up my, my image of the solar system. Okay, let's go to where we are now. We are star maps. Here we are. This is today, the time, my location. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me go back to you in the studio. Okay, you got to stop share on that and I'll share. I just want people to understand it's where it's really here.
Man, we have people from all over the world watching this podcast right now. We've got people from Dubai, from France, all over the US. I think I saw somebody from Ireland.
Well, CNN isn't covering it like we are, Rex. You just pulled in the live feed and you made this all the more exciting because somebody sent it to you. So this is this morning. This is what, you know, I'm in, you know, Canada,
Denmark.
British Columbia. There's the sun. You see, Mars is down here. There's 3i Atlas. So when you look up at the sun right now and you just look, you're going to see that it's really there. Now it's heading for, it will go somewhere behind the sun and Earth, either above or below, or it doesn't matter. Anywhere near here, we can't see it from Earth. In fact, we can't see it from Earth right now because it's too bright. It's not up at nighttime. Only those cameras that are situated out in space right now and on Mars can see it, which is why we're getting the live feed. Now, if you look, you'll see Comet Swan R2 is below the horizon right now. And we got K1 Atlas right here. We got a lot of visitors, right? But this is a two-dimensional image of what's happening out there right now. So just really take the time, look up at the sun. You can get these little apps on your phone that can do this for you. And just understand that this thing is really here. And it's probably far bigger than our estimates. It's either far bigger than our estimates. Remember, when you present all this religious date timing, it's recognizing humanity. But it's also telling you, I'm not changing my velocity, pretty much the same velocity. And in timing, as I cross all these planets, I'm telling you that your religious dates are mapped to the harmony of the order of the orbits of the planets in the solar system, which is a total new understanding and enlightenment. But there's way more than that. Its original message. So I got to go back now to my Medium page, because there's a way deeper message. And we know it's here. We know it has structure. We know it's probably way bigger than they thought. I mean, if we're not looking at a probe coming to the Mars Perseverance camp, this thing is like the Death Star in Star Wars, but on steroids, because even that would be small by comparison to what the arc seconds to size scale is showing how big it really is. It's actually terrifying how big it really is. But They're not going to come and tell you that. Like, I'm a mathematician. I used to work for the most major physicist in the history of America. I was around Glenn Seaborg, who chaired the Atomic Energy Commission under Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon at the Advanced Physics Corporation. Bogdan Maguch, a nuclear fusion scientist, award-winning particle physicist. Murray Gell-Mann, who discovered quarks. Norman Rostocker, who's one of the most brilliant physicists who ever lived, who's actually Canadian. And so I worked for these guys. I'm like a fly in the wall. I took physics grade 11 and 12, and after that, I did it on my own. You think I forgot? So I know how to do mathematics, and I know cameras. So I can apply my physics to optics and cameras and understanding and size scaling on this subject. And they don't have anybody who seems to understand cameras. Loeb doesn't even understand cameras properly to come up with this crazy stacking theory. So let's look at what I'm going to show you next. The real message of 3i Atlas. Its bullseye is hyperdimensional planet 591. And my hyperdimensional solar system model was the first message of 3i Atlas, because what did 3i Atlas do? Remember, UFOs are coming from a hyperdimensional place that we don't understand. This is it. 3i Atlas sends Earth the age of Methuselah, the oldest man in the Bible. And it did this by its rotational axial period and converted into minutes. So Avi Loeb posted, the data from ground-based telescopes accessible here implies a rotational period on its axis of 16.16 hours plus or minus 0.01 hours for 3i Atlas. I converted that to minutes, and I got 969.6 minutes for 16.16 hours, but for 16.15 hours, I got exactly 969. That's the age of the prophet Methuselah in the Bible. So what did I do with that number? All I did with that number is take that number divided by the golden ratio repeatedly fractally, and I did the whole solar system. Divided by the golden ratio was 599.24, right? Which is close to my 591 model of the solar system, which my wife gave me. Divided by the golden ratio, I got 98.62% of Earth's orbit. I got 98.1.6% of Venus's orbit. Divided by the golden ratio, I got my planet Thrones, 141.46. Divided by the golden ratio, I'm at 99.38% the orbit of Mercury. And I keep going, and I build my model that the poet Dante saw of the 9 planets of the angels and their orbital periods. And 969 times the golden ratio repeated. My orbit for Saturn is 99.94% accurate. This is incredible. All with one number that 3i Atlas sent us. Now, I compare that to my wife's model of the 591 number to the golden ratio building the whole solar system. And I take those 2 sheets of paper, if you look at my fingers, and I put them together and I calculate the difference in the numbers of the orbits using only their whole numbers, I get Fibonacci's sequence of numbers. I get 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. I get all of his sequence of numbers, and each number in the leftover differential of the 2 models aligns to a planet in the solar system. This article is incredible. It would blow your freaking mind if you actually read this on my Medium page at medium.com at David Sereda. So these 2 messages, one from my wife, the other from 3i Atlas, are how it sends us messages. What did Carl Sagan say in his famous book, Contact? I read the book. A lot of us saw the movie with Jodie Foster, but I read the book. If an extraterrestrial civilization was visiting Earth, it would communicate with us not in English, but in mathematical language and code. So remember, its distance from Mars was Richard Hoagland's famous number that he decoded in all the pyramids on Mars, 19.5 degree angles all over the pyramids on Mars, and it's 0.195 astronomical units from Mars. That's how it's communicating. That's 591 in the mirror. And the hyperdimensional solar system, if it's made out of antimatter, we would not see it. That's where it's headed. On the 20th of October to the 24th, I estimate, using a ruler and ratio calculations, it's going to pierce the 591 veil. That's the date I'm looking for. And at Christmas, it's going to be Great Pyramid angle to Earth, Rex. So this thing knows exactly what it's doing. So should we be surprised that it has structure? And now let's go backwards and say it's just a rock. And let's say you prove it to be a rock with all these incredible geometries. If a rock can time itself to all the religious dates on the planet crossings, we would have the greatest evidence ever that a consciousness is interacting with a rock or an ice ball and causing it to reveal all the dates of all religious dates in correspondence to the orbits of the planet is intelligence. It's not random. If I only had one religious date, we wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't even be talking. But we got all of them, including the ancient Egyptian date and when it crosses the orbit of Saturn next year. So
it's also making me wonder real quick, David. It's making me wonder if our ancestors saw the same object and they wrote about the object. Events took place, but it became a form of religion and worship because of what they saw. And now it's coming back, making the same orbit, possibly.
Well, I like what you're saying there, because remember the first images that I took, it looked like a giant eye. Remember? Let me pull those up again. So this image here, to answer your question, is the best one because I took the image from the telescope in Hawaii. I'm trying to remember the name of that telescope, and I took it into my photo program, and this is what it looked like. This was probably one of the best color images. Up in the right corner, it looked like the all-seeing eye. In this painting above Jesus's halo is the eye. Above the United States dollar, the eye. The Cyclops, which is, the Cyclops is a really interesting story, which I'll go into in a minute, and the Eye of Horus. So I think this answers your question. This probably, the megastructure, the core it looks like an eye. But beyond the core, it's holographically, and this is Richard Hoagland's theory. I've spent hours and hours on the phone with Richard Hoagland in the last 2 days, and he's going to be flipping out over these new ESA images. He believes from the data, a scientist doesn't form a belief. They form a picture based on actual data, that the core is projecting holographically the geometries in the ice crystal halo surrounding 3i Atlas. It's just like a projector. And then the ice crystals, like if it was raining and I ran a movie projector through really dense rain, I could get a holographic interpretation and reflection off of all the rain. If it was raining ice crystals, then I could get a far better holographic reflection of my projection. So this is a theory hypothesis that Hoagland has come up with. So the core nucleus, yes, in ancient history, an eye, to answer your question, might have been visible in the sky above, visiting our solar system, and then it observed us. But the geometries that it taught us, that it projected, led to the building of the pyramids and all of the temples, right? Because we can see those geometries with a trained eye from the rather fuzzy Hubble images from back in July. We're looking now, Rex, for the high-rise images from the best camera that I know of in the solar system is the Mars high-rise camera. Let me show you the specifics on that camera. Let me just pull them up.
And while you're doing that, somebody asked in the chat what that object was, the 3i Atlas that you had shown there, but you had done some adjustments to make it look that way. What did you do? You took the Hubble image and then you did something with the coloring of it to make it look.
No, I didn't do anything with it. I'm just adjusting the contrast and brightness.
So you just adjusted the contrast and the brightness, and that made it look like an egg yolk almost?
And the levels, and you can start to see the geometries, right? Oh, the image of the eye. Sorry, I used Nikon's NX Studio to do that one. It has Nikon NX Studio has better color band structuring. I mean, adjusting the levels. But no, I'm not changing. I'm not adding geometry. When a photograph is taken, all data is data. Cameras have even proven to be able to see things like plasma, for example, orbs, which could be plasma. It can see things that even the human eye cannot see, because we can see from red to violet light. Bees and birds can see ultraviolet wavelengths of light. And of course, below red is infrared thermal bands of light, which we now have cameras that can see. So when an object is distant like this to a camera, according to Richard Hoagland, who's a great scientist, he was Walter Cronkite's science advisor, back in the day.
I didn't know that.
Oh, Hoagland has an incredible background. Oh yeah, he was a truly a NASA scientist who was given data from NASA to present to Walter Cronkite for the World News. And of course, Hoagland is the discoverer of the 19.5. I'm the discoverer of the 591, which cost my wife's life, the mother of my two children, to get that data, and which is almost sacrificial to give us this, because the very idea of a hyperdimensional solar system, I mean, is really huge for me personally, because I want to know where my wife is. And why did she call out my name at 591 days? Let me just show you. Let me show you my calculator, people. You have to see this with it. You can do this with your own calculator. Watch this before I go to my next slide. So share screen, window, calculator. So my wife calls out my name at 591 days after she dies. Okay. So take that number on the screen, 591 divided by the golden ratio, 1.618033988. So I'm going to do this repeatedly. I do it once. I mean, the sidereal orbit for Earth is 365.256 and multiple decimals precisely, which is not a fixed number, because every year time shifts ever so slightly. Every year, when you get right down to minutes, a year is never at 100%. By the way, Utah Spice, I used to be a regular on the Art Bell show, and I have a lot of episodes with Art Bell. She's saying Rex is the next Art Bell.
Checks in the mail.
So why does 591 to the golden ratio give me 99.99999% accurate orbit of Earth from a person who died? I mean, and if I keep going and divided by the golden ratio again, I'm at almost 99% the orbit of Venus, because Venus is the shaving under 225 days. Divided by the golden ratio again, a planet with an orbit of 139.516 days resolves the miracle of the sun at Fatima. At Fatima. Which Fatima has two dates. And I have a whole article on this on my Medium blog. Fatima was caused by a hyperdimensional planet eclipsing the sun, which is exactly what the witnesses saw in Fatima, Portugal on October the 13th, 1917. It looked like an annular eclipse, except there's no planet there that we know of. But that's exactly what it was. There's a planet that we don't know of. Can you believe that? And divided by the golden ratio again, I'm like almost 98% the orbit of Mercury. Divided by the golden ratio again, hyperdimensional planet of the cherubim, again, hyperdimensional planet of the seraphim, again. That's the orbit of planet Vulcan. Planet Vulcan in the early 19th century in the Paris Observatory, a mathematician by the name of Urbain Leverrier was watching Mercury transits and noted another planet. No, he knew it was not a sunspot. People say it was just a sunspot. You think the guy was that stupid? He's a mathematician. No, sorry. Sunspots don't orbit the sun in 20 days. So why did they? And then this planet vanished. Planet Vulcan vanished. Oh, it must have been an optical illusion. Well, we can't confirm it. How could planets go hyperdimensional? We didn't even think of that idea back then. Divided by the golden ratio 2 more times, that's the height of the Great Pyramid of Egypt divided by 100. Exactly. That's the height of the Great Pyramid of Egypt in feet. What is that doing in my algorithm starting at 591? Giving me the whole solar system. So what I'm telling you is 3i Atlas does the same thing, and it sent us the other number, which is the age of Methuselah. And I got a similar pattern, and I was more accurate with his number to the orbit of Mercury. So it created the harmony of the order. And both of these numbers, right? So I'll show you. Let me go back to my calculator because this is important. This is what 3i Atlas is communicating to us. So that's why I'm showing this. Share screen, share calculator. Okay, let's go back to my calculator. So let's do 591 times the golden ratio to go out. 1.61803398887. Boom. One number out. Look how close that number is to the age of Methuselah, which is, if I take that number divided by 969.6, which is the number 3i Atlas gave us in its rotational axial period, I'm 98.62% of that. That's phenomenal. But actually, if I keep going, I'm going to hit Saturn, Jupiter, all the way out. In fact, let's do something even more amazing, Rex, because you know about Nibiru, right? You know about Nibiru. So 3i Atlas sent us the number 969.6 in axial rotational minutes. I'm going to multiply this by the golden ratio, and I'm going to get all the way to the orbit of Nibiru, which according to Sitchin, Zechariah Sitchin, is approximately 3,600 years. I'm going to get there. Watch. 1, 2, 3. That's Jupiter's orbit. 4. That's Saturn's orbit. Almost 100%. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That's a make. Its orbit. It's a dwarf planet way out there. Keep going. Bingo. That's Nibiru. So that's days. So I'm going to divide that by 365.258. 3,620 years. Is that telling us who sent 3i Atlas? I think it might be. I can't even believe, just following my algorithm, I'm at the orbit of Nibiru. And this was, my starting number was the number 3i Atlas sent us. This can't be happening, Rex, because people think Nibiru is science fiction, or that these ancient people didn't know what they were talking about, or these gods from another planet in the outer reaches of our solar system don't know what they're talking about. This is all myth. It's just religious myth. Why did we build temples, whole temples that aligned to these positions if there's nothing there? And why did my algorithm, the sun's right in my face, which is why I'm turning bright here, people, but the math doesn't lie. The camera doesn't lie either. So when you saw those things streaking by, no, those aren't leaves. There's no leaves in space. We got to grab those. Lots of work to do on the ESA camera, Rex. So,
dude, we need to do a follow-up like ASAP, because
we have to do this regularly, because remember, okay, I've got a chart of dates that we need to, and what I've been doing is transmitting these ratio frequencies into my body with my coil systems, which, people, you want to have your own experience. Like, what happened to me on the 5th of October, this actually happened to me. I've got it on my Facebook. Let me go to my Facebook. This actually happened to me personally. So on the morning of the 5th of October. I was sleeping in my guest cabin that night, and Grandma was with my kids. Remember, my wife died, and what happened is I'm dreaming of the burning bush of Moses, and it's beautiful. Okay, let me share a screen now, because this is an incredible story. This is what happens when you actually work with the frequencies in your body, which I've been doing meditation my entire life, every day. I'm 64 years old, people, so I have a little bit of experience. So we go to my Facebook, and let me go to my Facebook page and kind of just click on that article and make it bigger. Okay, so this was the 5th of October. This is where 3i Atlas was that day. This is where Comet Swan, F2 Swan, is crossing the orbit of Earth on the way in, right? It's nice to see it all, because Dante actually did this when he had a spiritual experience. He documents the position. So I literally saw the burning bush of Moses. It had green leaves. There was fire, and there was a soft, the most healing light. I felt like my soul was being healed. I'm 3 days after Yom Kippur when I'm having this experience, and I'm doing these frequencies of the harmony of the order into my body before bed. I get up in the middle of the night to pee, and I go back to bed after the burning bush, and suddenly I'm out of body, and I'm seeing a glowing sun, but it's way before sunrise. It's somewhere around 4:35 in the morning. And when I can't believe how bright it is, and I open my eyes, and I'm back in my body, and I know exactly where I'm looking, and I go on my map of the hyperdimensional solar system, and I know what I'm looking at. So I know exactly what it is. I'm going to show you. It is exactly as Dante described, the planets of the angels. The planets of the angels are very bright planets. And the position on the sky live of where my vision was, and this is exactly what Dante would do when he had an experience. He would do this. He would map the position of the planets. I'm just holding my eyes here because the sun is so bright. So here I was, and I go to the sky live, and I'm looking at where the planet of the archangels would be. And it's exactly as Dante describes in the Paradiso. These upper 9 planets. He's out here by Neptune, which wasn't yet discovered in Dante's 14th century. And his angelic tour guide is Beatrice. If you know who Beatrice is when you read Dante's work, you'll know the whole story. And he's being shown 9 more planets of the angels heading back towards the sun from this position. So using the sky live, I'm seeing the planet of the archangels, and that's just spectacular. I mean, to go out of body and have an experience while 3i Atlas is up there. 3i Atlas at this time of my experience was below the horizon in the southeast, so that's not what I was looking at. I know what I was looking at, and Dante was a master. An absolute master. He didn't imagine this stuff. People think, oh, he's just writing poems and making stuff up. No. Dante is fasting and praying. In fact, John Chiardi, who wrote the translation of the Paradiso, an Italian American, actually fasted and prayed and had visions of a great number of what Dante experienced in his journey through the solar system in the after death model. So it's very spectacular. So we've got a lot happening. People should go to my Medium page to read the articles if you want to really, go through the math. Pull out your calculator. This is simple stuff. My daughter in grade 10 is doing algebra and trigonometry. That's way harder than what I just showed you. This is the easy stuff. You pull out a number and you divide it by the golden ratio, and you just keep going with that. Yeah, I'm going to get really deep into these images. And I'll get Richard Hoagland, who's better at processing images than I am. You see that big streak that went by there? There was a big one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
folks, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, David, I was just going to say, folks, if you're just joining us, because I saw there's a few people in the chat that said, I just got here. What's going on? You missed a lot. We've been talking for about an hour and a half. However, this is just off the press, hot off the press. This is the European Space Agency showing footage of 3i Atlas. And as you can see, it's got some very bizarre characteristics. David has taken this and kind of changed what you adjusted the lighting on it a little bit, and it appears to show structures. I don't know what the heck this thing is, but it is very bizarre. And we're going to get David back on the show soon, especially when we get some more footage. We should be seeing more footage of 3i Atlas. That's one thing that I find very odd. You know, China's out there. They haven't shut down their government yet, so they should be able to send us footage. The European Space Agency, this is all they're showing us. But the high-rise imaging, that's what I want to see, because high-rise is amazing, and that's got should have some far more details. But very, very, very bizarre.
High-rise would be phenomenal. And if they look, we've already got enough images today from the ESA and the Perseverance rover the last 2 days to know this is no comet. That's ordinary. I know scientists are so strict. I mean, they wouldn't even believe an apple if it was hanging above their head if they didn't look up and see it, even though it would produce a shadow on the top of their head. They're so strict. They're overly strict. I mean, you got to just look at the data. Like Boyd Bushman said, theory be damned. Just look at the data. Look at the mathematics. Everything I presented here today is sound science and numbers. And I think we're living in an event that probably, if this is cyclic, this visitor, and it is something planetary in size, we still don't really, I mean, the math is telling us it's something enormous, or it's closer to the cameras than we would expect. Therefore, it could be a probe that is going to land on Mars. And Loeb's hypothesis is so good. His original hypothesis, I should probably go over that really quickly because it's important before I go. The Mars high-res camera in megapixels is 2,520 million pixels. Oh my God. I mean, that's the camera I'm waiting for. That's the camera that will end all debates. The real thing is our governments need to stop the wars. We need to come together, just like Ronald Reagan said in his famous speech at the UN. And we need to understand that we have a visitor of enormous, enormous proportions. Let me just try and find my where I was with my solar system. And I guess I have to pull up a new one because the last one had all my comments in there, which I really wanted. But let's just go to, okay, here we go. I just want to show you Loeb's original hypothesis. Now it's kind of like he's scared of his original hypothesis that it's going to send out probes. But let me show you why originally he said this has to be intelligent. And it's right here. So I'll show you why. So coming in, considering how long the period cycles are on the planets, the likelihood, so look at 3i Atlas here, the likelihood that 3i Atlas would pair with Mars on the 1st of October, 2nd and 3rd, with a 687-day orbit around the sun. Why isn't Mars over here? Why isn't it over here? Why isn't it down here? Is millions to one against it, knowing how to position itself at 5 degrees to the ecliptic. You see how low the angle of entry on the purple it is to the ecliptic plane? And then on November the 3rd and 4th, notice it's paired with Venus. And Venus isn't over here, or on the other side. And then when we go to December the 25th, it's closest to Earth on the 20th, according to Loeb. Some people are saying the 19th. That's winter solstice, people. The 21st is winter solstice. That's just perfectly timed. And then on Christmas Day, it will be Great Pyramid Angle. Now, to make matters worse, on March the 16th, its closest position to Jupiter, Jupiter has a shaving under 12-year orbit. So how did it get so close to Jupiter, Earth, Venus, and Mars in its transitional period? It's perfectly timed. So this is his original hypothesis. He goes, this cannot be an accident. And based on that, he suggested and wrote that it's going to be dropping off these smaller probes. How big smaller is, we don't know. Loeb also stated that all his UFO detectors that are set up all over the world right now, which go through a software system that eliminates satellites and known aircraft flights, in eliminating all those, would know if we had an earthly visitor. So those detector systems are all in place. And I expect that, okay, let's say, this is one of my hypotheses. It's dropping off at Mars. It's going to drop off at Venus. It's going to drop off at Earth. And it's going to drop off at Jupiter. And let's say they're gods. Because one of Loeb's hypotheses, they detected a huge amount of CO2 in coming off of 3I Atlas, which is what humans exhale. We exhale CO2. And he even postulated there was enough CO2 to equal 10 million human beings exhaling. This is Loeb, not me. So he has all these extraterrestrial hypotheses, and then in the end, he gets scared if it's really real. It's not science fiction. So that would mean if they drop off subcraft as the main body is going through, they're going to need time to set up and establish on all those bases, and one of them being Earth. If it drops off probes, it's not going to happen on Christmas Day for Earth. It's going to take some time. And 3I Atlas will be in the solar system for about 3 years. So it's not going away anytime soon. And what its business is we know what its business is mathematically, the message, which I presented here today. But is it going to do something physical? Are there going to be the classic gods of the Greeks and the ancient Mayan and Aztec understanding, the Middle Eastern and Sumerian gods and goddesses? Are they returning to visit us physically? The only thing I can tell you is I went to India to the Dalai Lama's 10-day teaching, and he actually told everybody this, that there are, I guess, times documented in their history where gods visit Tibetans in the high Tibetan plateaus, and he said, beware, they're far more beautiful and perfect than us. Don't fall down and worship them, and continue doing your Buddhist meditation practice. But I thought that was stunning that the Dalai Lama was telling us this. I was a witness to the teachings. It's not written in any book. And also the Tibetans have a hyperdimensional prophecy of their own that Robert Thurman, professor of Buddhism, Columbia College, upstate New York, I got him on camera actually talking about this, is we have hyperdimensional cities on our planet. Shambhala is only one of them. The Copper Mountain Paradise city in the mountains in Afghanistan is another one. And that these cities have some type of a force field, and a date in their prophecy says the force field will come down and we'll finally see that there's these super advanced beings with bases living on our own planet with cities that we've never even seen. Okay, so when you get into hyperdimensional physics and a hyperdimensional behavior of UFOs, going to hyperdimensional planets that are right in our solar system, I think we're there now. I think we've had enough congressional hearings to know that UFOs behave hyperdimensionally. And if you see the interview with Joe Rogan and Representative Luna, who has been heading on all these UFO panels in Washington, the last one being September the 9th, which I watched, she talks about hyperdimensional physics and the behavior of UFOs. So I think we're ready. We're ready for this. It's time for people to get their heads out of TikTok and start paying attention, because we're in the midst of the greatest event, what may be the greatest event in history. I think it's already the greatest event, what it's already done. If it physically does something, we're all going to know about it. So with that, we'll see you next time. Rex, so glad to be here. Thank you for setting all this up.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man. I know you're super busy and you got a lot going on. So folks, check out David's website. He has an awesome website, davidsereda.co. He's also an inventor, and he makes these incredible frequency generation systems that are way beyond my pay grade. So check it out, davidsereda.co. Testimonials are awesome as well. And David, I look forward to seeing you again soon, man. Please keep me posted, and let's do a follow-up again as soon as you think is relevant.
All right, Rex. Thanks. Peace, everybody. Take care.
Peace, everybody. Wow, that's what I'm talking about. Larry, thank you so much. Much appreciated. Larry says, remember the Heaven's Gate cult and Comet Hell Bop. Maybe they had the wrong comet. Wow. I would say no matter what, they had the wrong comet, man. That whole situation was frightening, and yeah, bad situation. When you start seeing a bunch of people wearing the same shoes and they lock you out of the rest of reality, and you've got to stay in a certain group and you got to follow those protocols, that's like the foundation of a cult. So culture, we're in a culture right now. But anyway, what cult do you choose? That's up to you. I choose to be free in the land of Earth. Have a beautiful day, everybody. I will be visiting Mars, though, when we have the opportunity. Sidonia, that's my hometown. Yeah. Okay. Joking, not joking, maybe joking. Be the change you want to see. You're awesome. Really appreciate you. Hit that bell for all notifications if you would, so you'll get the notifications. And also check us out over on Rumble. Subscribe to our Rumble channel. We do live shows on Rumble, totally free. It'll take you 90 seconds to sign up on Rumble. And we have exclusive content on our Patreon page. Thank you.